J-Mott here for Stretford Paddock, and this is, well, it's not Transfers Live,
No.
It's just a live
Stretford
show.
Paddock Live.
Stretford Paddock Live, because it's all happening. Joining me, as always, is my good friend and colleague, Joe Smith. Just been filming Premier League Piss Take.
Yep.
Must have had a couple of things to talk about.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
guessing.
a little bit to chat about, isn't there? Some stuff going on, apparently.
Things, not much, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is lots of breaking news, sort of ongoing, rolling breaking news, as you say. This morning, or last night, we had the story about the Super League, this new idea that looks like it could be coming to fruition. Manchester United joining other clubs such as Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, AC Milan, Juventus, Real Madrid, Barcelona to form their own sort of breakaway style Champions League. We've also had the sacking of Jose Mourinho, so had a little bit more sort of intrigue to the afternoon. And also the actual Champions League, the UEFA Champions League, have given an update on their new format.
Very interesting,
Because, if you allow me to sort of unpick all this nonsense, the Super League announcement sort of came just ahead of the new Champions League format being announced. We'll get into all those things, starting with the Super League. Do get involved in the chat. Do get involved in the comments. Hit that like button as well. Give us a like. Let us know what you think. There seems to have been a lot of outrage over the Super League. A lot of people kicking off about it on social media and everywhere else. People going down to grounds to protest. We were down at Old Trafford this morning as well. I think other people have gone down there this afternoon. I mean, there's a lot of anger towards this Super League idea, isn't there, Joe? And it's sort of, it's understandable.
Yeah, of course it's understandable. I mean, I think we've seen what people have had to say. We've seen the likes of Gary Neville. We've seen the likes of fans and people here on Stretford Paddock. We saw Steven McCullough's reaction to it yesterday. That was as it was just taking off. It's gained a lot more traction since then. There have been official statements from the clubs involved, from the the Super League as an organisation. I don't think. I'm personally of the opinion that I don't really think it can be overstated how seismic and detrimental this would be to world football. Like, other than, we're just going to shut down football, this is about as bad as it gets for me, because it obviously gets rid of the Champions League in any meaningful sense. It's just Bayern Munich and PSG playing the final every season. It seemingly, and based on what the Premier League have already said, requires either them to back down on the position of, or stick with the position that all of these teams are no longer in the Premier League. And the same goes supposedly for all of the teams in Spain that have joined it, all of the teams in Italy that have joined it will no longer be part of their domestic leagues, according to the governing bodies of those leagues, which are not the same as the Super League governing body. So essentially what we're doing, if things are to stay as they are now, we are gutting all of European football of its best talent, except in Germany, and we are making one league ran by the owners of football clubs to make more money from. I mean, it couldn't be more monumental than that. It doesn't get bigger than that. It doesn't get worse than that. We're destroying football in Europe as we know it for the sake of, what is about 12 billionaires to make a few more million. It couldn't be worse.
No, I agree. It's an absolute farce. Adam Sweeney's in the super chat. He says, we need to do what Liverpool did. I never thought I'd hear those words.
No.
Banners outside, etc. We need to fight this. I get it, and I'm all for protests. I've seen the protests before, been involved in some of those protests when the Glazers took over, and I get it, and I understand that, and we do need to do that. What worries me, and I'm not saying we shouldn't protest by any stretch of the imagination, what worries me is, does that have the effects? Yes, you can show your anger, and you can show the world that we're against this, but do you think that protests will have any sort of effect on this because of the amount of money that's involved? I think it's 3.5 billion is being put up by JP Morgan as an investment into this league. And I read somewhere else, and if anyone knows any more info on this, please do get involved in the comments, that even a club that finishes at the bottom of this Super League can stand to make 300 million, whereas if you win the Champions League, you won't make that.
No.
I mean, the amount of money involved in this is ridiculous, and one thing that always worries me when there's this amount of money involved in anything is it's very difficult to stop it happening.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, and I mean, this is slightly overstating it, of course, but
I don't think you can overstate it.
You look at sort of unrest and protest and that sort of thing. I know it's a completely different thing, but I'm talking about the scale of the biggest protest I've seen in my lifetime in England was against the wars in 2002 or 3.
Yeah.
And 1 million people across the country took to the streets to protest that. It didn't stop anything. And that's it. I'm not comparing the two things in terms of magnitude, in terms of anything. I'm just talking in terms of protest. Like you said, when things are this big, when there are billions on the line, this is, a billion is the sort of money that in the 20s, there was about 2 people with $1 billion. Like, £1 billion could buy you a country.
Yeah.
Like this is
a decent sized one as well.
Yeah,
Not
this
like,
is,
Montserrat or something.
No, this is the sort of money where it is like $1 billion to a person like me or you is unfathomable. So the idea that we're going to be able to stop these things when it's this much money on the line, like life-changing, government-changing money, and I'm not saying, obviously I'm not putting the government behind this, but what I mean is these are sort of monumental sums of money in world terms, not just in football terms. These are the sorts of money that anyone gets out of bed for £3 billion. So, I mean, it is going to be so hard to stop, and I would, happily protest outside of Old Trafford, and any meaningful thing that gets put together, I'm there. But like you said, I just worry, what effect will it have? And what do these people care? And there were protests when the Glazers took over in the first place. And we sort of knew that maybe not this specifically, I don't think anyone necessarily predicted such a obscene and direct, money grab of this nature, but we all knew why the Glazers were involved in Manchester United. They were involved to make themselves money and to not and nothing else. It wasn't to be successful for Manchester United. It wasn't to make the fans happy. It wasn't to make the players happy or the owners, the manager, give them an easy job or to help them out. It was to make themselves money. So something like this is hardly unpredictable. I mean, I didn't have it in my head to put this sort of incredible scheme together the way that they've done it. But can we say we're surprised? And can we say we're going to be able to stop it? I mean, if they're set on it, and if this isn't just some ploy to get the Champions League changes put or more in their favour, I don't think we can stop it as much as we'd like to. And I'll try anything I can, but what are we going to do?
No, we will get to the Champions League changes in a little while as well, because this has been announced as well. The Champions League have changed their sort of format and what's going on with them. We've got a few super chats to go through as well. Luke H says, robbed of our club overnight. Would rather United go under than watch these scum turn it into a soulless husk and erase all our history for money. Liam Rascola says... Sorry, that last one, was Luke H. Liam Rascola says, Sky have quotes from a board member of one of the English clubs involved, owner-driven, split board, Americans who can't get head round relegation. I'm going to get those quotes in a minute. I've got them here.
Yeah.
Christian Shea says, UEFA needs to ban transfers from happening between the Super League teams and the rest of UEFA. If it happens, make it unprofitable for them. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legalities of that, if that can work. Sega Kale, maybe it could. I don't know. Sega Kale says, boycott the matches, stop watching, stop buying merch, stop buying the tickets, protest, 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 hashtag boycott the Super League. Those quotes that the chap in the chat, who was just referring to, I think it was Liam, was referring to. I see that it's Cave Sol Hair Cole from Sky. I've probably butchered his name now. You know what I'm like.
Yeah.
He's tweeted here, and I think he was saying it on Sky as well. He said, board member at one of the English clubs joining the Super League. So I think this is under, I presume it's under anonymity. This isn't a civil war. It's a nuclear war. To be honest, though, the owners are not that worried about bad PR. They were expecting it. Their job is to maximise profits. The wider good of the game is a secondary concern. So you were sort of saying it there, Joe, about the process. You spoke about other process you'd seen and how that hadn't had the effect because of, it's almost like it's got its own momentum now, isn't it? It's like, this is a similar thing. You've got a board member from one of the English clubs saying, you know what, they knew. It's like United, as far as I know, United haven't tweeted it. They put a statement out, but they haven't tweeted it because they know all that's going to happen on Twitter is everyone's going to go mad and reply to it. I mean, they're going mad anyway, but you're just going to get reply after reply after reply. You're just getting hammered. The two tweets from United, there's a pinned tweet about the goals yesterday in the game yesterday, and then there's a tweet about how the training's been good.
Imagine being
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the social media person from Man United, or a social media intern, or something from Manchester United today, and it's your decision about doing this, and you're getting this stick when it's not their fault. It's not some 22-year-old who's really probably quite good at their job's fault because they've decided they're not going to tweet about it because they know the inevitable shit that they'll get, and deservedly so. Just a shit position for everyone to be in, and I would guess that everyone from social media intern and kit room and tea lady and manager and players and everyone all the way up to the top, except probably 3 or 4 people or maybe a dozen people at a board level. No one wants this to happen, and that includes all of the fans from all of the clubs. The percentage of people involved in football that want this to happen is so scarily small, and yet they're the ones that are allowed to do it. They're the ones that can do it. It's just, it goes to show, and this is where you almost have to turn and look at the Premier League, and you have to turn and look at the way things have been going for the last 20 years and say, you've done this to yourself. Because the Premier League focused on money and focused on profit above all else, and the FA in between them, they allowed these owners to come in and take over these clubs based on, in United's case, let's just talk about United, let alone anyone else, based on debt, on money they didn't have, when obviously they've got no history in football, they've got no need and no want to look after Manchester United, they want to look after themselves. And you allow these Wolves to come in, and they all come in and look, we're the Premier League, and we've got all these Wolves sitting, looking at everyone else. Look, we've got Abramovich there, we've got the City owners there, we've got the Glazers there, we've got all these people, look at us, we're the biggest league in the world, look what we can do, flex all this money, come and give us money for broadcasting rights, look at all these owners, buying all the best players in the world. Do you want to see the best players in the world? You're going to have to pay us £2 billion to put it on telly. We've got all these Wolves. And now the Wolves have just turned around and they're looking at the Premier League instead. And then they're going, no, you can't do this anymore. You're not allowed to do this. You brought the Wolves in. You brought them in. Like, what did you expect? It's great to have them when they're on your side, isn't it? But eventually they turn on you because the profit that you can give them still isn't enough. And now everyone's going, well, you're not playing for us anymore. They don't give a fuck now. No. It's too late now. They don't want to play in the Premier League. The Glazers don't care about the Premier League. We're going to get a couple $100 million. Let's get billions over here. Pathetic, honestly. And the fact that the Premier League is sat there going, well, you can't do this. We're going to do everything we can. You've already done too much. You did this in the first place. It's a fucking joke. And anyone who's been watching football for the last 20 years could see something like this coming, and now we're meant to be surprised.
Mate, well said. I couldn't agree with you more on everything that. I think you've articulated it very well. Ian Steele in the Super Chat says, got to respect the 4D chess from Levy in sanctioning a stadium Tottenham could ever afford. Well, I think he presumes say could never afford. Yeah. So that club value is increased so they qualify for Super League. Anthony says, UEFA and Prem are just as scummy as billionaires. I'm just going to go into the chat as well because there's loads of people in the chat and I understand that, this is your channel. Get involved in the chat. Hit the like button as well. Give us a like. You might not like what's going on, but give us a like on the video. Kaze says, I bet you Amazon is behind this and will broadcast this. I don't know if they're behind this, but I'm sure they'll get involved in some sort of documentary about it. You can bet your money on that. Tim Collins says, applaud Joe Smith. Completely agree. James Wallace is spot on. Christian Marshall says, facts. Con1WS says, this goes ahead. I wash my hands with him. If this goes ahead, I wash my hands with him. I think I've seen a few people saying that, and other people there saying, well said, Joe. Glenn F. Joe for United spokesman. People saying, I've had enough, that they can stomach. I mean, I sort of said something similar to myself today. I said that, I've always said with the Glazers, I was here before them and I'll be here after the Glazers. I've been going to United since 1985 or whatever. My dad took me and I want to take, started taking my kids and stuff. But there's only so many hits you can take as a fan before you start drawing a line and going, do you know what? I don't know if I can keep backing this. I don't know if I can keep getting involved. I don't know if I can keep buying tickets to this, renewing my season ticket and just going along with this. Because when does it end? And I've always thought there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. But I think that's more hope than expectation. I will power through. I'll get back to you in a minute, bro. I just want to power through some of these chats as well because there's a couple of super chats as well. Stevie86H says, this would be fine if it was a summer competition each year. This is utter bollocks. They are destroying the history of all our clubs. Jordan Reed says, this would be the saddest thing to happen in football in a long, long time. Joe, I've come to know you quite well over the last year or so. You are, I think, something of an optimist. Do you have any optimism? Because this time yesterday, me and you were chatting. In fact, it was a little bit later, but like 20 hours ago. And I was saying, don't think this will happen. Now I have completely changed my mind because of what I've seen. Do you think there's any way this could be stopped from happening? Do you think there's any way that, I don't know, they get around the table, anything where you think the Super League doesn't become a reality?
I do think, I think it's still possible that it doesn't happen. For two reasons. One, because there are a lot of reliable people who are still saying this is a bargaining tool to affect the changes that UEFA have put on the table, which we'll talk about now, actually. Because,
yeah, that's great.
Because, to be honest, we'll get into my thoughts on that in just a minute. I think if this is being used as a bargaining tool, then that will maybe stifle it, that will maybe change it, but all it will do is affect the way the Champions League is ran to the end goal that all of the big clubs have the power in the Champions League instead. So we're at a point where the owners of the big clubs have gone, we've fucked about long enough, we've done it how we used to do it, we bought your players, we've stayed in the competitions, we've done that, fuck all that now. We're sick of that, we can't be doing that anymore. We do it ourselves now.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can really put the cat back in the bag after that, because they've done it now. They've said, fuck it, cash. It's cash. That's what they're doing. They're willing to say that. And they've sort of held their tongue on that up until now, and now they've gone, that's it, it's cash. Yeah. We're not lying anymore. We're not pretending anymore. We're not saying that it's for profit for the club. We're not saying it's for success of the club. They're just going cash. Yep. So the only way it can be stopped is if we get a diluted version of the Champions League. And I think we have got something to talk about in the Champions League as well. Because this is... Sorry, go on. What were you going to say?
I'm just, before we get to the Champions League, I just want to... There's a couple of other points on this Super League, and it ties in with this, so we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. I think again, it's from Sky Cave who's been talking about this. This is a quote I've seen. It says, several of these American owners we're being told, still cannot understand why we have relegation in English football. They just can't get their heads around the concept. So part of the thing with this Super League, for the English clubs, the founding clubs, is you don't get relegated from the Super League. Yeah. I think there's 20 clubs in it, 15 of which are the founding members, or will be, potentially. I know there's only 12 at the minute. And those clubs stay in it.
Well, they want to add Bayern Munich, RB Leipzig and Porto to that current.
But I think Porto have come out, actually, and said they've been asked, but they're not joining. But I don't know if, again... Is that set in stone? Porto is trending.
Everything's movable until the cash starts flowing, isn't it?
We can't, so Porto president Pinto da Costa says, we can't participate in anything that is against the rules. We're in the Champions League and we hope to continue to be there for many years. This is from Romano, and he also says, despite fake rumours yesterday, no Borussia Dortmund, no Porto, no Leipzig as of today. No Porto, no Leipzig as of today. So, I mean, this is as of today. That could change. Mm-hmm. But, what it seems is like, they're not into this. I mean, you American sports. Did they have this is a really stupid question, but I don't watch American sports. Is there relegation and promotion in American sports?
Generally speaking, no. Right, so, like the NBA is a fixed number of franchises, they call them. The NFL is a fixed number of franchises. They have different things. They have the G League. They have sort of pools that they recruit players from. But there is no promotion relegation. The worse you do, you come last in the division and get... Either, depending on which sport it is, you get the first pick in the draft, or in basketball, for instance, you get a higher percentage of getting the first pick in the draft. So they do ways of trying to level the playing field, really. Instead of in England, the way you level the playing field is, well, the best team in this division goes up, and the worst team in that division goes down. And hopefully we have a division where, this team's really good and they come up and they get rewarded for doing so well. Instead of that in America, you get rewarded for doing badly. Because what we want is a sport where every single game is two really good teams. Right. So in order to do that, we reward the shit teams. We don't relegate them. Yeah. We give them prizes. We give them the first draft out of college. So you get the best young player who will then be a good asset for you that's worth a lot of money that then you can then use to bring in other good players. So in America, it's all about creating a level playing field so that you never have blowout matches. We want every single game to go down to the wire. Final 60 seconds, final throw of the game, final shot of the game. That's what they want. And presumably that's what they want here. I don't know what the incentive system will be. I don't know if they'll have that, because it is a very American thing, like, whoever finishes bottom of the Super League gets first pick on Mbappe's contract. I'm not saying
I get what you mean.
Of that, but that would be the equivalent.
Right.
It's like whoever comes bottom. Let's say it was last season. Whoever comes bottom of the Europa Super League, you get Jude Bellingham. And then he'll help you in the next few years. That's essentially the American model. And obviously they don't understand that. And you almost think to yourself, well, why the fuck did you buy a football team then? What did you think you were buying? But you're not buying... And then it's so sad that you can just come in and have so much money that instead of you going, actually, that does make sense. This is 150 years of tradition that we're going to adhere to. They come in and go... We don't really get that. We don't want to get that. Let's change that, which is just completely disgusting.
Niall Canavan says, I don't recognise this United team anymore. It's essentially New York Yankees in Manchester. Love what you guys do and we'll keep supporting the channel. Niall, thanks a lot for your support. Everyone who's supported this channel since we started it 7 or 8 months ago, I think it was. Mm-hmm. We massively appreciate that. Seamus Williams, sorry, I know you've got a point to make. I'll just read this quote and then this super chat and then get to you. Seamus Williams says, time for the FA to democratise, even get the words out, our leagues and teams. Fans on the board and greater accountability to fans is needed. Couldn't agree with more of that if I tried, with all of that if I tried. And also, Marjorie21 says, guys, do you really think this will actually go ahead, or is it just these dirtbag owners trying to get more cash from UEFA? If you'd asked me yesterday, I'd have said no. Today, I think it will. Sorry, Joe, you were going to say something, then, bro.
That point about this is just New York Yankees, but in Manchester.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
For now.
Right.
Because there is no guarantee that in 10 years' time, Manchester United play in Manchester.
Do you know what, right? I'm glad you made this point, right? Because I'm not trying to be Mr. Top Red. I was awake last night, all night. I went to bed about 4 a.m. Couldn't sleep, thinking, what is going on? Like, is this going to happen? We're not going to be in the Champions League, European Cup. And then I thought, because of this whole American thing, and because I don't have a great grasp of it, I've heard of them moving the franchise, like, the Oakland Raiders or whatever used to play in Brooklyn or whatever.
The Rams is another recent one.
So I was thinking, could that happen? Could they say, well, Manchester United now are going to be moved to Dublin? I'm just throwing a city out there. Is that even possible?
Yes. Because they are the governing body of this new organisation.
Right.
The president is Florentino Perez.
Yeah.
The vice president is Joel Glazer and another.
Yeah, I think there's someone else, but the name escapes me. Forgive me.
This isn't being sanctioned and governed by anyone with any football in history.
Right.
This isn't being sanctioned and governed by a sort of a decades and centuries long understanding of how football works and how football clubs work. Yeah. This is being sanctioned and ran by people who don't understand relegation, by people who only have knowledge of American sports. I know Perez is slightly different, but when you look at the numbers of people in charge of this, the men in charge of this, most of them, or a lot of them, have American sports backgrounds. Yeah. Where you go, well, St. Louis isn't really a big market, so let's fuck them off to LA. Or in this instance, it would be, Liverpool. Yeah, it's a decent-ish city, but it's not fucking Shanghai, is it?
With that, though, and I get where you're coming from, my sort of reaction, or the thing that I thought maybe this can't happen, is how do you then play in the Premier League? Surely you've got to play in the Premier League.
Well, they won't play in the Premier League.
So they will just say, right, we're not going to do the Premier League, we're only going to do this Super League, and we're only going to do this Super League.
I'm not saying that that's the plan, but 5-10 years down the line, why would we not do that?
It just becomes a Super League.
The money's slowed down a bit, so here's what we're going to do. Man City, they're quite cool, but instead we're going to call them the Sky Blues, and we're going to move them to Shanghai. Then we've got Manchester United, well, we're going to call them the Red Devils. They can be Mexico City because there's 30 million people there. And then Liverpool, I mean, it's a big city, but 800,000, that's not enough. Let's move them to Tokyo, and you've got a fucking worldwide, the biggest clubs in the world with 20 million in this city, 60 million in this. Like, I'm not saying this will happen, but we are stepping into the direction and the realm of a worldwide, or at least European-wide, who gives a fuck. I mean, if nothing else, Man United, that we're called the Red Devils and we play out of London. Let's be a bit more realistic here. And here's what will happen, because Real Madrid already tried to do this. Even before, let's forget selling franchises to other countries and other cities, which is very much possible. What will happen is the first game of the European Super League season is going to be played in Beijing. Yeah. And it's going to be Real Madrid versus Manchester United. That will happen.
Yeah, because we had the 39th Premier League game, didn't we?
Yes.
We're going to play abroad.
That's been a proposal that they've wanted for ages, and the Premier League want that. Yeah. So that will happen. So, before we even talk about selling franchises, we're playing games outside of the grounds of these teams in this tournament, and that will happen almost for certain, I can guarantee it.
Get involved in the comments, get involved in the chat. I'm going to power through some of these chats and comments as well. Loads of people getting involved, as you would expect. And there is almost a little bit of a precedent in what you said, because MK Dons were in Wimbledon. Yeah. Like, that was Wimbledon Football Club. That was it. They used to play at Plough Lane and Sellers Park, who was been there. And they moved to Milton Keynes, which is a fucking hour away. That's like saying to Man United, right, we're going to move you now to Birmingham.
To Leeds.
Yeah. They'd be like, well, hang on a minute. That's literally what they did. We're only small. That's not a point. No. They did it. So, yeah, there is a bit of a precedence for this. Ollie Aston says, we started a team of railway workers and became the biggest team in Europe. Our owners are part of a movement depriving other teams doing the same. Miko848 says, our only hope is that the players just protest or resign. These owners expected all this, so I wouldn't put anything past them.
Let's talk about the players for a second while you're looking through that. I don't expect the players to come out en masse and reject this.
Can they?
No.
Are they allowed to? Because they're under contract and they're working for... and I will get to one in a minute, because Ander Herrera's come out, but they're under contract, they're working for this club. That's your employer. Can you come out and say, my employer is doing the wrong thing?
Well, let's think. How many Manchester United players? I know it's only day one, so give them some time, and I'll come on to why I'm not blaming the players particularly for this.
Okay, go on.
How many United players have come out today and said, fuck the European Super League.
I don't know of it. If anyone knows of any, get involved in the chat.
And
Send me, feel free to send me a link.
Yeah, how many of them have said it, and how many of them do you think are thinking it? Which is probably most of them, unless...
If it's a real quote as well, by the way.
Unless they've all been promised, you'll get 50 million next season. Do you know you're on an 18 million quid a year contract now? Yeah. That's good, isn't it? So what's that, £1 million every 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Not bad. How about we give you 50? How about we give you £1 million a week?
Yeah.
And I'm not even blaming those players because cash is hard to turn down, especially when...
We live in a capitalist society, whether we like it or not, we do.
Exactly. So these players, you're now being guaranteed twice, maybe 3 times the money you were on before. And you know what? By the time you're 30, you'll have retired, and you've got to look after your family and their kids and your cousin, and this guy's having an operation. And there's a difference between retiring with 20 million in the bank and 150 million in the bank. For generations, there's a difference. So I don't know if we will see that. And Ander Herrera can come out and say it because PSG have taken a stance against this, largely for money, by the way, because their owners have a big part in buying the rights to the Champions League for beIN Sports. So, PSG, we're the ones with the moral high ground. No, you're just making different money.
Yeah, let's not try and paint PSG as some sort of, bastions of moral integrity. These guys, are nothing like that whatsoever. But Ander Herrera, a player that many of us loved when he was at Old Trafford, is still hold a little bit of a camel, for being brutally honest. Says, I fell in love with football, of the fans, the dream of seeing the club I love to compete with the biggest of them all. If this European Super League advances, those dreams are over. I believed in an improved Champions League, not the rich stealing what the people created, which is the most beautiful sport on the planet. Now, some people may look at that and go, fantastic, love that, love Ander Herrera, well done speaking out. Others may be slightly cynical and go, you're playing for a club that's owned by an oil-rich nation that's basically using your club for sports washing to distract from some of the other horrible things they're getting up to.
Yep.
That's one argument that could be made. I'm not making that argument in particular. I'm not really, but it's a point. But he is at least speaking up when others aren't. There is another sort of caveat to this, and I will get onto the Champions League as well. There's this sort of threat or worry that I've seen doing the rounds that if the Super League becomes the focus, and if you are going to be in the Super League no matter what your Premier League status is, like whether you finish 10th or 2nd or whatever, then you could play a weakened team in the Premier League and put all your energy into the Super League. Because if you finish 2nd or you finish 18th, or not, if you don't finish 10th, it doesn't matter. You're still in the Super League if you're Spurs or, Arsenal, for example, now. They'd have no incentive to get from 9th to 5th. It just doesn't matter. So they may as well put all the focus into the Super League because if they win that or they get promoted that, they finish high up in that, they could make potentially 200 million quid more. Yeah. So that's a real concern as well, is that the Premier League's almost going to become like watching the Rezzies.
Yeah, because unless you win the Premier League, what was it, 2-3 months in, Arsenal know they ain't winning the Premier League. Yeah. I mean, they essentially they know it from week 1, but it's all but confirmed when they're 20 points down after 20 games.
They know it in the summer.
Well, they do. I mean, but you look at Liverpool this season. They knew after about 20 games as well, they started to fall off and they had that terrible sort of December, January time. So for the last 2 months, 3 months, they would have been playing the reserves. Yeah. And Arsenal would have been, and Tottenham would have been, and Chelsea would have been.
And let's not forget, Liverpool, I remember Liverpool got a Craven Cottage to play Fulham when they had the Champions League final, and he played a complete reserve team, Rafa Benitez. Yeah. He played literally, Robbie Fowler played one of his last games for Liverpool because he'd come back there and he was barely getting any games. So it's been done. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because the focus on the Champions League. Yeah. And now it's just taking it a little bit further. Just before I get back to it, Northern Carper in the Super Chat says, could clubs be breaking player contracts? They will have bonuses in the contracts specifically for competitions. Could the players walk out on clubs? I mean...
And go where?
Yeah.
You walk out on Man United and where are you going?
Well, you ain't going to anywhere.
You're not going to City
decent in England.
Or Liverpool or Tottenham or Chelsea or Arsenal. Okay, I'm going to leave Man United or I'm going to leave Real Madrid and I'm going to go to Osasuna or I'm going to go to West Brom or I'm going to go to maybe Everton. I guess would be the best of the rest. Leicester maybe, but it's like they don't have the money to pay you what United were paying you. Just because United have fucked off to this tournament doesn't mean Leicester have more money.
No.
If anything, Leicester will have less money because the Premier League will be making less because it isn't the focus for world football anymore. So Leicester ain't going to have 375 grand a week to pay David De Gea his wages.
No.
Leicester ain't going to have that money to pay Aubameyang his wages. So don't expect a mass exodus. That's what I'm saying. These players, and again, I'm not even blaming them for this because this is human nature to a certain extent. But when you get offered £1 million a week if you're Mbappe, I mean, obviously that's different because PSG, but just naming the big boys here, Haaland, Rashford, who would it be at Chelsea at this point? I don't even know. Maybe...
I was going to say...
Chelsea ain't got any big names, have they? Weirdly. But do you know what I mean? If you're at City and you're getting paid £1 million a week to do this...
Mason Mount?
Who's Chelsea's biggest player?
I don't know.
Kante?
I don't know. Because if you say like Ziyech...
They've got loads of
Havertz,
like 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
don't they,
or
Chelsea?
Werner.
But you know what I mean?
Like,
If you're a real standout player in your team, Pogba, let's talk about United, Bruno, all of a sudden you're being offered... Bruno, you're on 150 grand a week. What does 560 grand a week sound like to you? It sounds like, I'll shut up and play. And I'm not speaking for Bruno, I'm just talking generally about what humans are like in that situation. It's really hard to turn that down. And that's why you have to have protections in place above those people, above people who may have come from difficult backgrounds where their family still may be on particularly well off just because they've played a few games for a big team. You have to stop this at the top. And that hasn't happened. The Premier League have allowed this to happen, and now they're going, fucking shit, what are we going to do? I don't know what they can do.
In the super chat, I agree. Alfie Palmer says, Ollie said yesterday he only found out about the Super League yesterday afternoon. The owners haven't even consulted the manager and the players.
Do you believe that?
I find it hard to believe. I do that he wouldn't have known until, an hour before it leaked. Because I think, like any conspiracy, and I use the word conspiracy because it feels like one, if the fewer people you have, the easier it is to keep it to yourselves. There was 12 clubs that knew about this, and the staff at those clubs, and owners and their staff and
this
people
has been rumoured for a while.
Yeah, and I just cannot, for the life of me, believe that someone hasn't leaked that somewhere to Wally or his member of his staff. It sounds highly unlikely to me. Polly 160 says, what was the point of fit and proper tests for club ownership? Great question. I detest the Glazers, but the Premier League and FA have also played their part ignoring the signs. I think that is a really good point as well.
I think there should be at some point, I don't know, because I don't want to chuck the government and fucking law enforcement into everything, because there's terribly slippery slopes that can go down, as we well know, looking through history. Basically any nation in the last 100 years have had some reason to think that giving more power to the government doesn't necessarily help and can destroy countries. But you almost think there has to be like a government oversight, or like, because the fit and proper persons test just hasn't worked. And you would even say, and the thing is, that test theoretically has worked for United, because you think, well, United have got new owners, ignore all the debt, because who gives a fuck about that, we're just the Premier League. They've taken them and they've won some leagues with them. They've spent a lot of money. They've made them one of the biggest brands in the world. So in theory, United aren't even one of the ones that they need to worry about with this fit and proper persons test. Let alone people like Bolton and Bury and these teams that get taken over and then just get completely destroyed. So this test in itself has no backing in logic and no backing in protecting the clubs. If this fit and proper persons test is to work, it has to itself have some sort of like punishable redemption, or not redemption, but if they fuck that up, they have to answer to someone else. Because what is the emphasis and what is the onus for them to even make this work when they just go, fit and proper persons, yeah, he can take over. Wait, the Sheffield Wednesday owners sold the stadium to himself so he can pay off debts that he owned, and he couldn't buy him using football money because of financial fair play. Oh yeah, well, sorry about that.
Yeah,
so
it's
you almost need someone like looking
Portsmouth
over.
had it, didn't they? They had 11 owners in a season, one of whom made up the idea that he had money. He didn't have any money at all. No. He pretended he did, and created like fake bank statements and managed to get in there. I mean, admittedly, he got found out. Will Ponting says, sound lads, I'm disgusted. United are so integral in these plans. United have just posted a pic of OT on their Insta, captioned home. They are shameless. I've just tried to get it up, but I couldn't get on it. Robert John Schusen, forgive me if I butchered your name.
You've done well there.
Thank you. What impacts would this have on which players are willing to join United? I think Joe was saying there, if you're going to come to United and get paid more money than you would have done, you've brought it up. Yeah, is that true then?
Yeah.
They've posted. I mean, here's an idea. Just don't post anything for a bit if you've not got anything to say about this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Rather than posting things that are just going to aggravate anyone. Jack Jeffrey says, Arsenal due to an 18th place Fulham. What gives them the right to play against top competition? If you're trash and can't get into Europe, too bad. I mean, there's a point here. I want to make this one last point before we move on to the Champions League changes, because that's an important facet of this. Yeah. But again, I keep going back to this guy, but he's been on Sky and he's been sort of, coming out with some bangers. Benfica, Celtic, Feyenoord, Ajax, Forest, Villa, Hamburg, Steaua Bucharest, Porto, PSV, Red Star Belgrade, Marseille and Dortmund have won 19 European Cups.
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Man City and Spurs have won none.
Yeah.
And the 4 teams that I mentioned there at the end, or is it 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, are all in this Super League. Mm-hmm. And the ones that I mentioned earlier, none of them are. So it doesn't seem right, that does it? It doesn't seem like this is... It's a bit, using the word Super League, a bit sort of fast and loose, really, because some of the cream of Europe and the most successful teams in Europe in terms of this aren't in. Meb 3 says, the FA and PL are reaping what they sowed. They allowed the Glazers to buy United, and now that decision could destroy English football totally. The Eggman 72 says, Spurs and City fans should boycott the Carabao Cup. Since when are Spurs bigger than Leicester? Leicester have won the Premier League. Sky Sports News has reported that Man United have stood down the ECA 3 hours ago, gutted to say the least. Woodward stood down, didn't he, from his role as well. There's all sorts going on.
They're going for it, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're really pulling this bluff to its end here by doing all these things.
Chris Lowe says, have you seen the statement, seen Ander Herrera's statement? Yeah, we just read that out earlier. True club legend, always gives his all for the fans. Pricey3297 says, Joel Glazer was talking about world-class facilities. The Glazers haven't made improvements to Old Trafford since they took over. He's one of the biggest bellends going. Those are Pricey's words, not mine, although I do agree with them. Aaron Dixon says, years of history in the European Cup. Pissed on. Abhishek Paddy says, fancy a kiss camp in the Manchester Derby in LA. Deepak Nayani says, thoughts on German clubs not participating. I mean, it's just an outrage. Ian says, what will happen with Sky and BT in regards to the TV rights as the competitions they paid for now are not the same? Who will win with the rights for Super League and how much will it go for? All really good.
That's a good point to talk about quickly, isn't it?
Yeah, go on, yeah.
First of all, on the German clubs, I think they're the only ones that you can even look at with a single ounce of respect in all of this. And historically...
Is it done now? Is that done?
No.
I'm getting vibes.
I was going to say, don't rely on it for the next 5 years. It's just them playing. PSG, I'm not going to give any credit to at all. I mean, Ander Herrera, fair enough, he doesn't own PSG, but yeah, you can maybe look at the German clubs, the 50+1 rule that they've had there, and an attempt to maintain that even
for those who don't know,
Leipzig.
50+1.
Well, essentially, it just means that 50% of the club has to be run by the fans, technically, but it's generally not. It just means that one person can't own a full German football team.
Which is, so we wouldn't have the Glazers situation if we were in Germany.
That can't happen there. I mean, there's a lot more to look into it than that, trust me, but that's the rough general
It's good
guide
because
of
I
it.
see these, for want of a better expression, buzzwords flying around on social media, and some people think, what does that mean? Myself sometimes I go, I don't even know what that means, that's why I've got you here to tell me.
Yeah, but there are certain exceptions. RB Leipzig kind of got round that rule to a certain degree.
Because they're owned by Red Bull, aren't they?
Yeah, although, and the RB, as everyone knows, is RB Leipzig, which in your head you think Red Bull Leipzig is Rasenballsport Leipzig.
Of course it is.
All that fucking bullshit. Anyway, so I give them some credit for that. The second point about... what was the second point then about the BT and Sky?
The rights, the TV rights and all that jazz.
There's a reason why, and not because I don't believe Gary Neville believed what he said, but there's a reason why Gary Neville was allowed to speak the way he was yesterday. There's a reason why Rio Ferdinand was allowed to speak the way he was yesterday. If Sky and BT already had a contract in place for the Super League, we wouldn't be seeing that. And it goes back to the same thing with the money of, you don't hear them coming out and talking bad about the owners of Sky and BT or Rupert Murdoch and all that. You don't hear them coming out and talking about these people. You don't hear that. You hear them coming out and talking about a problematic situation that we can all agree is shit, but that also happens to fuck Sky and BT in the short term, because they're the ones that have already paid all this money for the Premier League, which may be up in flames if they hold their nerve and kick all these teams out. They're the ones in BT that have paid all this money for the Europa League and the Champions League, which, I mean, there's no may, will go up in flames if this happens. So they're happy to talk shit about it. I don't know how that tune will change once the contracts are sorted, once Sky have got this bid in, BT have got that bid in, Amazon's taken that bit, DAZN has got that bit. It remains to be seen, but they will get screwed over massively by this. And maybe we can, I don't know, maybe let's hope the best case scenario here is this doesn't happen. There is some reform to the Champions League,
we're going to get to
which
that
I think is maybe inevitable at this point. There are some reforms to the Champions League which give some of the big clubs a bit more power, but not the amount that they'll get doing this. And we can hopefully have a bit of a reset on exactly who is spending what money for what length of contracts. We can't afford, in what is such a volatile marketplace, to be giving £1.5 billion to the Premier League for 5 years of coverage when the Premier League might not exist in 5 years as we know it.
No, this is the thing. It's just so crazy to be actually saying this, but it could be a reality. We're going to move on to the Champions League format. There's an announcement there as well, because, you know, as if there's not enough going on.
Well, this is kind of
it's
pivotal
all,
to all of it, isn't
the
it?
The reason that you had this announcement about this Super League, it leaked yesterday. I think the official announcement was this morning by the clubs, was because we were waiting. This was expected Champions League reform to be announced, and UEFA have confirmed a major Champions League change. Now, the UEFA executive, get my words out, UEFA's executive committee, I'm reading a report here, has reportedly unanimously voted through the new 36-team Champions League to start in 2024. So under the new format, the current group phase will be scrapped, with the so-called Swiss system seeing each club playing 10 group matches instead of 6 in one league table. The number of qualifiers will also be expanded from 32 to 36, with space for 2 wildcard entries, which sounds fraught with problems for me. They will be reserved for clubs with the highest UEFA coefficient who have not qualified for the competition through their league position. So United could not qualify for the Champions League in this format and say, well, actually, we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've been there or thereabouts many times before. Let us in. Go on then. Do you know what I mean? You're going to make us loads of money because it's United, innit? Go on then. You're in. Which, again, makes a mockery of any sort of meritocracy. And the New York Times is reporting that among those who have voted was Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the PSG president, whose club are not involved in the new breakaway Super League. So there you go. That's one of the reasons, as you sort of pointed out there, that PSG aren't as haven't joined the breakaway league. Is one, you said they've got the sort of their own thing going on with being sports rights and stuff, and also they've had a say in this new Champions League system, which again is even if this was only the story, I'd be a bit miffed.
Yeah,
because it's not fair. But throw it in with this Super League shenanigans, and it just seems like a shit day for football.
Well, let's look at the comparisons here. So you've got, right, on one hand, Super League here, Champions League, new Champions League here. Ooh. Super League, all the best teams playing in a league format.
Yeah.
New Champions League, all the best teams playing in a league format.
Yeah.
Super League, you don't have to qualify for the tournament if you're one of the biggest teams in Europe. Champions League, wild card entrance to teams with the highest UEFA coefficient to be allowed in the Champions League regardless of league table position. Oh, they're the fucking same thing. The only difference is the fucking owners own this one and UEFA own this one. That's why the owners are so pissed off, because the Champions League are putting together a plan that basically does the thing they wanted to do, but they don't get extra cash for it. It's the same thing. And the only difference is not the whole thing is taken up by people who will never get kicked out. But let's be honest, the Champions League, Real Madrid are never not qualifying. Yeah. Barcelona are never not qualifying. Bayern Munich, PSG, 4 of City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal are all going to qualify for the Champions League every year. 4 of those 6 teams will always qualify, essentially. I mean, I know Leicester can make the odd exception, but generally speaking, you're getting all these teams anyway. Roma, AC Milan, not Roma necessarily, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus, always qualify. Yeah. So Champions League get all these teams anyway. They just want a few extra ones. And this whole wild card thing, there's nothing fucking wild about Man United finishing 5th and still getting Champions League football. That isn't wild. That is exactly as predictable as a team that wanted to make money or a company that wanted to make money would do. It's not wild. It'd be wild if fucking Burton Albion got in. That's wild. We just pick any football. Who we got? Trabzonspor, they're fucking in there. Langold Juniors are in. They're only 10. They're under 10. They pick the under 10s out. How wild! That's wild. You accidentally pick a fucking under 10s team and they're playing away at Fenerbahce. That's wild. Not Man United getting in, even though we finished 6th. It's the same thing. Champions League already has all these great teams in it. Yeah. They're just ensuring a couple extra get in there, no matter how well they do. They're the same. We ought to be almost as pissed off, not quite, because there is that level of flexibility with the Champions League still that your team can rise up. But in terms of protecting the big boys, the Champions League want to do the same thing that the other one does. They just don't want to give all the money to the owners.
Right, I don't think this,
Okay.
So I want this disclaimer. If anyone clips this up, you make sure you have this first bit in. I don't believe this for 1 second, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to play devil's advocate, right?
Go on.
I'm going to throw your mind back to 1991 or whenever it was, right?
Yep.
And then you've got these sort of two things coming up. I mean, I vaguely remember it, I was only a kid, but it's like, it's going to go from Division 1 to the Premier League.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great. It's going to be sort of all brand new and shiny. And it's going to be like we had cheerleaders and all that when it first started. And all that's nonsense, but it's going to be fantastic. Call it Premier League, yeah. You're going to attract all the best players all over the world, and they're going to come and play. It's going to be mint. You're going to see the best football you've ever seen, and we'll even throw in a bit of a rule change. There's no back pass now. How would you like them ones? Also, European Cup, forget about that. It's boring, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
What, 5 games?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Only having a hard game to get to when you get in the semis.
Yeah, starting at a quarter-final against Rotterdam.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't be having that.
And only the league winners qualify, or the holders of the trophy. Forget that. We'll bring in the Champions League. This was obviously a little bit later as well, where they expanded it. So it wasn't just league winners. In '98, they expanded it. United finished second in '98. We got into it, and we won the lot. So, is there any part of it that thinks, okay, we've had change before that has been, sort of lambasted, and everyone's been sceptical, and everyone's spoken up against it, as many people did when these changes were brought in, and it's kind of worked out okay? Or do you just think this is completely different because it's a lot worse and just, there's no element of improving anything with this?
Both.
Okay.
There is no element of improving things. This doesn't improve. I don't think it even improves it for the viewers. Like, I know that people have a go at, like, sometimes you'll get Ludogorets versus Galatasaray in the group stage, and people are going, who cares about this?
Yeah.
Well, it gives chance for clubs from different countries to play against Real Madrid, against Man United, against Barcelona. And we always get the big teams in the quarters and the semis anyway, so you always get those games. Yeah. You always get Chelsea, Madrid, PSG, City. You always get big games. Yeah. It's very rare. Like, we look at Porto, and we go back to Porto, because that's the last time a sort of minnow, if you will, got to the Champions League final. And Monaco the same season, obviously. But, like, generally speaking, it's Real Madrid, it's Liverpool, it's United, it's Barcelona in those finals. And that's pretty much it. We've got a tweet on the screen there, I think, to read out quickly. It's from Fabrizio Romano. He said, the players that will play in the Super League will be banned from playing in the World Cup and Euros. This is according to UEFA's Alexander Seferin. He said they will not be allowed to play for their national teams. So there's a further update there. But, yeah, in terms of, are these changes better or worse than previous changes to the Premier League, to the Champions League from the European Cup? They are much worse than this, because at least that held in regard the idea that someone like Nottingham Forest can get promoted from the what was the second division at the time into the first division, win the league, win the Champions League or the European Cup as it was. Like you said, Man United finished second and we won it, which was a slightly different way of doing things to how it had ever been done before. But you're not rewarding teams just because they were good, not even years ago. We're rewarding teams that are good now that actually haven't been historically good, like Manchester City. They've got no European success, no European legacy, and we're rewarding them because they're billionaires.
No, some of the super chats that I had as well, a couple of super chats that have disappeared off the screen. If we can try and dig them out. If you put a super chat in and I've not read it, just comment again. Obviously, don't expect you to do another super chat, but just comment again, and I will read it out. Apologies for that, because there's a couple that I did have up, and I don't know what's happened, but they've disappeared. So if you put a super chat in, just put in the chat, the normal chat, what your super chat was, and obviously, and I'll read it out. Apologies for that. It's probably my fault because I'm old and useless with technology. So forgive me for that one. Just one thing we need to move on to as well. I mean, yeah, I agree with what you're saying there about the sort of the Champions League as well and the changes and stuff. Jose Mourinho, almost forgot about him. He's been sacked, which is, in fact, there's a super chat here as well that's just come up. Yeah, this is from STS. You guys should start the Greedy Six protest and get fans outside the grounds. And also Jordan Knebel sent in the chat. I don't think there's anything on it, but thanks for your support as well. Yeah, Jose Mourinho has been sacked. I mean, surprised by this one?
Not really. What is Jose at this point? Where Where is he in his career?
People are saying, sorry to interrupt you, lots of people are saying, can you get your Instagram up and just check on Bruno's Insta? Because a lot of people, I don't know if this is saying, if this is true or not, but lots of people in the comments are saying Bruno posted on his Instagram story about this. Joe's going to have a look at that now. I know loads of you are commenting.
He's
Go on.
I don't know if you can see that, anyone. He's basically just said, dreams can't be buy, which I guess means dreams can't be bought. And that's a link to, what was that a link to? Someone talking about the Champions League. Podence on Instagram talking about Zidane's volley, Kaká's solo goal, Liverpool in Athens, Ole in Barcelona, Chris and Seedorf. There are some things that we really can't pay for. So he's liking a comment that is pro-Champions League on his Instagram story. It's not, I mean, it's the first I've seen of anyone even sort of looking at this topic for United, and obviously Bruno Fernandes, arguably United's best player. It's good to see someone standing up, but it's not a particularly strong standing up against things, but it's something, and it is something. No,
and I'm not, we're not knocking her. Thanks as well to Joe Presbolowski, who pointed that out in the chats as well.
Yeah, worth mentioning.
Yeah, it is worth mentioning, and it does seem that. Scory Junior says, my super chat was, could the fan channels come together, like Stretford Paddock and Arsenal Fan TV and Liverpool FC and all that, and use their platforms too to start a real boycott process? We will be chatting to other channels and stuff, and as fans, regardless of whether you have the rivalry between, you obviously have the rivalry between club fans, and I'm not about to start, holding hands with Scousers and singing how much I love Liverpool, but I will join them in protesting this and speaking out against it. And the thing is to remember, right, and this isn't like, told you so, but United fans, when the Glazers took over, how many fucking times did we say, when all these fans were laughing at us, look, you're in debt now, you're not going to win all the Champions League. We said, and don't forget, we said this whilst we were champions, whilst we were winning Champions Leagues, whilst we were still top of the league, said, this is going to be bad for football. Yeah. This Glazer ownership isn't just going to affect Manchester United, it's going to affect everyone. This is the sort of beginning of, not the end, but a slippery slope that will drag other clubs into it. And people will look at what's going on at United, other owners, and go, we can do this, we can make money that way, we can get dragged down with them. Well, not get dragged down with them, but we can milk them dry. And that is bleed them dry, I should say. And that is what's happening. And that is why we were speaking about it so much. Yes, obviously I care more about Manchester United than other clubs, but the warnings were there, and it was naive to think this was only going to be a Manchester United problem. It was going to be a football problem, and that's what it is now. But all that being said, if fans of other clubs are united against us, then yeah, I'm all for that. Absolutely all for that, because United not against us, United against it. Yeah. I'm all for that, because we should come together. We should speak out about it. From what I've seen from a few of the other posts and the other fan channels and the other fans of other clubs and stuff, it's the one thing.
Uniting factor, isn't it?
It is. Do you know what I mean, mate? Yeah. It really is. So we're certainly open to that, and we know a few of the chaps on a few of the other channels as well. So we'll be speaking to them, and if we can do anything that can, help voice not to voice the concerns. That sounds proper beige. Help change this. Help just let them know.
Fuck it off.
Yeah, help fuck it off is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, thanks. You went all Salford there, and I went all Worksop. Yeah, then that's what we need to do. Yeah. So yeah, we will do that. 100%. Dave says, lads, you have a platform to pull fans together to protest. Please don't just spectate. Make arrangements and pull together for us. We're behind you. Yes, mate, we will do what we can. We've always spoken out about the Glazers. We've also, been on other channels, myself as Joe has, on the media speaking out against the Glazers. Me and him was on Sky speaking out against him. We've always done that sort of thing, and we'll continue to do that. Not just on this channel, but on any channel where everyone will, let us. To be honest with you, Jose. We'll just quickly speak about Jose, because I almost feel like he gives a shit. Yeah. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you know what I mean, mate? Yeah. I'm just like, Jose's been sacked, it's Monday. Yeah. It's like one of those stories, isn't it? It's surprising because they've got a League Cup final coming up. I'm just kidding, I'm not that arsed.
No, I know what you mean, and obviously it's been, but that reaction is exactly what Tottenham want, isn't it? They want it to be brushed under the carpet. They want enter the new world, get Jose out of the way, and no one will remember. It's not going to make the back pages. This is it, Jose being sacked. Or if it is, it's the bottom corner. It's going to be football is ruined, football is gone, end of the world as we know it. Mourinho relieved of duties, bottom right corner. Like, this is what Tottenham want, and it's just sad to see what's happened with Jose, to be honest, because I think I will say it. I think Jose is the second best manager in Premier League history. So to see him go from where he was, and I do believe that it's him or Wenger, neck and neck, but I would put Jose up there higher just because he's done it in more places.
Yeah.
And he's won more titles than Wenger has across his career, I believe. It's sad to see what was, this charismatic sort of enigma that rolls into the Premier League. I'm the special one, all this stuff. We don't need to go over all that. But now he's this like sad, bitter, angry. Sometimes he's bald, sometimes he's not. Middle-aged bloke who doesn't really get on with anyone. No one really has a great word to say about him after he's gone. And that's players, that's owners, that's fans. That's he doesn't leave you going, Jose, come back. Unless you're an Inter Milan fan, you've got Pogba saying he's a dickhead. You've got all United fans thinking, Jose Mourinho, he won a couple of trophies, but.
Yeah.
Chelsea, he came back, but.
Yeah.
Everyone, Real Madrid, he won a couple of trophies, but. He falls out with everyone. He's clearly so impossibly difficult to work with. It's just sad. And I wish that he could be successful still. And obviously, I don't want him to win the league with Tottenham ahead of United. But I wish he could have done more at United. I wish he hadn't lost his glow and his lustre the way he has. And I almost think, when you look at this sort of Super League thing, I guess he could nick his way back in there, couldn't he? He could get the, who would it be? Let's say they join eventually. He could get the RB Leipzig job. He could get the AC Milan job, although that will be difficult with his history with Inter. But at some point, you think, it's internationals or retirement at some point, because I can't see Jose Mourinho going out there and coming up, Manchester United today will play West Brom, managed by Jose Mourinho. Like, Jose ain't doing that.
No.
Jose's not going to go manage Feyenoord or, whoever. He wants to manage the biggest teams in Europe, and it'd be sad to see him managing anyone else. But I don't know how he can anymore. Who's gonna hire him?
No, you're right. And I remember when there was a time when I used to do a press conference when Jose was there, and he made a joke. It's funny you mentioned about him being bald when he had his haircut. He made a joke about me being bald, and then he came up to me at the end of the press conference and sort of gave me a high five. Do you know what I mean? He was like, there was that element to Jose early on in his United career where he was likeable, he was friendly, and he always had that edge, but you could sort of get on board with it because he was a trophy-winning machine, and he did that in his first season. He won 2 trophies, and the football wasn't great at times, and he sort of gave up on the league in January, but he was successful. And then since 2017, he just seems to have gone backwards. He really does. And Jose always delivered a title in his second season. He's now not done that in his last two clubs. Sorry,
not even winning any titles at Tottenham
or United. Any trophies.
Sorry.
But no title. Like, he always won the league title in his second season. He did it at Porto. He did it at Chelsea. He did it at Real Madrid. He did it at Inter.
Did it at Chelsea again.
He did it at Chelsea again.
Yep.
Came to United. Finished second in his second season, massively behind Manchester City. In Spurs, nope, it's not happened there, obviously. So he just seems like he's a bit of a spent force. In the super chat, Atul Gutam says, always bought United jersey every season, cost me $80. I will stop doing that and send the money to Stretford Paddock FC.
Oui.
LMK, how I can do that, let me know, sorry, how I can do that. I am proper, LM Bromberg, LMK. We will do, how can he do that? I don't know, we'll put a link in the description, we'll find out how you can do that. Paddock FC, you just send it to me and Joe, we'll have it for Pepsi Max Cherries and whatever it is you drink. Cassidy Johnson says, so if United go through with this stupidity, we're all Salford City fans now, right? I'm going to be honest with you, I live in Salford, but I don't really care about Salford City.
I don't know who I'd support.
And also, Salford City are hardly like, there's a club that's really got socialist values, a club that's just thrown loads of money at them and bought players well above their level to get promoted constantly.
They're basically just mini Glazers.
Yeah, with Peter Lim, who's a billionaire, who's come in and just pumped money in and just got like the class of 92 there. Do you think David Beckham gives us like he probably don't even know who Salford City are playing this weekend?
No.
So let's not pretend that's. I mean, I get where this lad's coming from. Not going to dig at you, but Salford City, not for me. Alex Metcalf says it's been coming for years, lads. Premier League Sky allowed it to happen. Now it's appalled. Remember Grand Slam Sunday 10 years ago. This is just an expansion. Yeah, it does seem like it has been on the horizon. I can't see, is that Callum King there? Or is that a super chat there? Or is it just what's he saying?
Yeah, he said Bruno spoke against Super League on his Insta. Yeah, we mentioned that. If you want to scroll back, you can check that out. We saw I say he speaks against the Super League. He agrees with a pro Champions League post, which is I would say different, but I guess he's pushing it as far as he can. I don't know whether the players will have been told, keep your fucking mouth shut. I don't know whether they won't have told them anything. I don't know what's going on. But Bruno has, by proxy, sort of spoken about this Super League thing, unless there's been a second one since I last looked. But someone else posted a pro-Champions League thing about, here's what we'll lose, here's the moments from the Champions League that we love, Zidane's volley, Ole's goal in Barcelona, all these sorts of things. And Bruno came out and went, yeah, you know, we love all that stuff. So it's not exactly fuck the European Super League, but it is a pro-Champions League with a suggestion of that. So yeah, it's good to see from Bruno, even if it's not, again, the most hard-hitting thing. It's obviously him voicing his opinion, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and like you say, it's difficult because we don't know what's going on. You don't know with players' contracts. I mean, everyone's sort of on social media saying when's Marcus Rashford going to come and save the day. And you know, it's not all. Marcus Rashford can't be responsible for everything, but he does have that reputation. He has done it in the past where he's been the sort of the saving light. And during the pandemic,
yeah.
you know, made the Tories backtrack twice. He's sort of helped feed school kids, starving kids. I mean, he's been something of a bit of a hero. Is he going to be the one to come out and talk about this? So, will that make any difference? Is it up to the players? Is it up to, the fans are obviously going to speak about it. We're going to protest. Do the players need to come out against this? I'm not really sure what the answer is, obviously, but whatever it is, we're going to be giving you guys a platform to discuss it. We're going to be speaking out about it. You know our thoughts on it. Obviously, we're not for it at all. We're completely against it. So make sure as well you're sharing your opinions with us. Get involved in the chats. Get involved in all the comments, and not just this video, in the other videos as well. Have you got something there for me to read out?
Brian Swanson, who's a Sky Sports presenter and reporter, said, and this is coming 3 minutes ago, so very fresh.
Breaking.
New UEFA President Alexander Seferin has said players from the 12 proposed breakaway clubs should be banned from all UEFA competitions as soon as possible, which we sort of reported before. But the interesting thing here, Euro 2020, we're still assessing the situation with our legal team. So they're trying to get these players fucked off of the Euros.
You can't, whilst we all hate this idea and we're angry about it, are you telling me that because of what Manchester United are doing that Mason Greenwood can't go to the Euros? Is that fair on him?
I think, unfortunately, at some point, you have to punish what you can punish.
Right.
Because UEFA, seemingly, can't punish the owners, can't go to the Glazers and say, give us 200 million. They can't do that. They do have power over the players. And unfortunately, hopefully, that's the only way to get back up the pyramid. Because you're not going, we'll stop fans buying shirts or whatever, or we're going to stop people supporting Man United. They don't care. But what they do care about is maybe if there's civil unrest within the players and they're going, what the fuck is going on here? We refuse to play for Manchester United because we're going to get banned from these things that we want to play for the legacy of ourselves as sports people. Maybe that's the only power they have. And in talking about Euro 2020, well, they have to do it now because they want to start this Super League next season. So what is there left? There's 6 games left of the Premier League, which, let's be honest, the bottom 3 look down. City look like they're going to win the league. It's basically top 4 that you're fighting for with an outside chance of Burnley going down. And that's it. You can cancel the Champions League final, but PSG are still in it, and they're one of the good lads, so they're not going to do that. They don't have many options. They don't have many ways of getting in front of this at this point. If they want to start this tournament next season, the only thing between now and then is the Euros. And they have to go, Pogba, you ain't playing. Mbappe, you can play. Neymar, you can play. Oh, obviously not the Euros. But you know what I mean? Like Rashford, you ain't playing. Bruno, you ain't playing. Anyone who plays for these 12 teams, you're not playing in the Euros. And maybe that will get the clubs to go, all right, one sec, because all of our biggest players are looking at us going, what the fuck have you done here?
Yeah.
They don't have many other chips than that. And I don't think it's fair on, Mason Greenwood, like you mentioned, it's not fair on him. He hasn't made this decision. But what else are they going to do?
No, I know what you mean. I've just been sent something as well about Ed Woodward at a recent fans forum.
By Ed Woodward?
I've not been sent it by him, but I've been sent it what he said at a fans forum, which is just pretty contradictory, and it's just sort of like about keeping match-going fans firmly in the centre of thoughts, which obviously hasn't gone on at all. I mean, this is going to go on for some time. We know that, like we've said, we've had... we've got another super chat. Callum Ainsbury says, do you continue to support United? I mean, I support. It's like, what do you mean we support? I always support the club, Manchester United, and I love Manchester United, and I will do. So the day I die, I just cannot stand these owners, and I can't stand what they're trying to turn my club into. If you can sort of separate the two, then yes, I support United. I support those players that turn up for Manchester United week in, week out. But do I support this decision? Do I support these owners? Absolutely not. No. And it's something that I'm completely agreeing. It's got another super chat as well. Varun Gujar says, I'm a United fan but love English League. Years of history, blood, sweat and tears. Young lads from neighbourhood becoming star. FA Cup, small club dreams. Just don't let Americans take that away. Yeah. Aquila Rossa says, I have supported MUFC since the 1970s. Live in New Zealand now. I am not quite at changing my tattoo to RIP MUFC. Fight it to the bitter end. I mean, this is the thing with Manchester United as well. And obviously, we live in Manchester, and I've got to see we've both, go to the games and stuff. But this isn't just about match-going fans. I'm not just saying this. This affects everyone. This affects anyone that is a Manchester United fan. And I get that because it affects what you're going to be seeing. It affects the experience you've got to support Manchester United. It affects the teams and the players that we're going to be facing as well. It's just going to be a different animal. And you're talking about Mason Greenwood earlier. I mean, it sort of dawned on me before that we might never see Mason Greenwood play in the Champions League. We might never see him play in the Champions League final, for example. Yeah. He could spend the next 10 years at Manchester United. He could score 300 goals for Manchester United, and he could never kick a ball in the Champions League final because of this shite. I mean,
ridiculous. I've got a tweet here that Simon Peach has retweeted from Martin Ziegler. He's Martin Ziegler, by the way, chief sports writer for the Times, so obviously very clued up on this. And everyone is going 100 miles an hour at the minute. We're going to be keeping you up to date with everything that goes on.
Yeah, it just sort of keeps coming and coming, so we'll keep doing it.
UEFA President Seferin, again, who we spoke about before, who's currently on a press conference, lays into Ed Woodward and Agnelli. He said, if I start with Ed Woodward, he called me last Thursday evening saying he's very satisfied and fully supports the reforms. The only thing he wanted to talk about was financial fair play, when obviously he had already signed something else.
So you're upsetting people, aren't you? Or, you know what I mean? Like, he's obviously not making any new friends. Callum Ainsbury as well says in the super chat, do you renew your tickets? Line their pockets. I'm struggling. I love match day, but I feel so. It's a great point, this, Callum, because I get asked this all the time about the Glazers, and, you're a season ticket holder. Is there a hypocrisy there? That's things that I've asked, and I get that, but it's like I've always had that sort of resilience in me where, me personally, I don't speak for anyone else other than myself. My attitude towards it is it's my club. I'll be here before. I was here before the Glazers, and I'll be here after him. And I'm not going to stop going, and I'm not going to stop doing what I love doing because of those. But where does it get? Where does it get to the point?
Yeah. The worry now is what will be left after that? When the Glazers have gone, what will Man United be? Will it even be a football club you can recognise as the one that you grew up loving? And obviously, I'm not going to stop watching United. And talk about putting money into the club and stuff can come later once we actually see what happens here. But who knows what Man United will be in 20 years? It could be, like I said, the London Red Devils for all the fuck we know. There may not be a Manchester United as we know it to support.
There might not be, and it doesn't want to. We're not trying to be melodramatic here and try and sort of put the fear of God into people. But if you'd have said to me 5 years ago, even, can you see a European Super League breaking with the Champions League? And I said no. I don't see that happening.
You can maybe see the Champions League turning into one.
Yeah.
But the idea of this company ran by the richest, greediest owners in world football, breaking away to make their own thing, you'd be like, what are you on about? That's just some, elitist Illuminati conspiracy theory. Well, here we are. Here we are
indeed, and this might not have a happy ending if there is even such a thing. But no matter what, we're going to be keeping you posted, letting you know any developments with this. We're going to be live again. Well, Stephen Howson is going to be live, I think, at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
So he's going to, as you may imagine, he's got one or two things to say about this. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be going live. So get involved with Stephen Howson. Let him know what you think about all this. Mark Garside, in the super chat, says we should lay flowers and candles outside OT. You're not the first person that said that, mate, and I know where you're coming from. Someone else. Someone saying, I'll read this out. Someone saying, Jay, still willing to pay up while you whinge, question mark. Decision to be made there, isn't there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we renew? It's a fair point. Is there hypocrisy there? I've always said I'll go to United, I'll get behind the team, and it's my club and all the rest of it, but how far can you go when you're looking at something you just don't agree with and you keep going anyway? I'm not so sure. Bart Viking says the players will support ESL. Money talks. Top end Prem salary is $250K a week or 30 mil a year, whereas top end US sports salaries, you were saying this before, were you, are up to, 30 to 50 million quid. So yeah, you were saying that they're going to get paid a lot more money. So they'll probably go for it. We can go on and on. Oh, sorry, I've just got one more. I think this is the super chat that I missed earlier. It's from Tom S. TalkSport interviewed Robert Kraft, any New England Patriots owner. 2 years ago, said he would invest in a sport with relegation. His mates, he wouldn't invest in a sport with relegation. His mates clearly heard him. The culture of our sport is being invaded. Adam Roberts.
Oh yeah, let's
go on.
Another thing as well. Like all these teams that are in this European Super League, expect them to over time. Periodically, this one gets bought, that one gets bought by this billionaire, this team gets bought by that billionaire, until every single one of them has a billionaire owner that can then sell that in another 10 years, that can sell that in another 10 years. This isn't like, right, Super League's done, unpack your bags, lads, get your stuff in the wardrobe, we're home. It's like, Super League's done, now let's fucking fly this thing into the sun. Like, it doesn't stop here, it starts here. Yeah. Like, this isn't the end of it. It's not like, oh, thank God, we've been travelling for 15 years to get here. It's like, no, we've done the first flight, now it's the long flight all the way to fucking Australia. Like, it's going to go wild from here on out.
Colin Kimball in the super chat says, sucks to see football become a corporate money grab like every other sport here in the US. I'm used to being screwed by owners as American who stopped caring about fans years ago, but this feels worse. Go on, please do, my friend.
Karsh asking if there's a Premier League piss take today. There will be at 7 p.m. Make sure you check that out, yeah.
Don't you worry about these two. We've got plenty to say about it. I think we're going to wrap up there. Listen, it's been great, the fact that everyone's got involved. Obviously, it's frustrating and it's, do you know what I mean? It's sort of sickening what is going on, but I'm glad that so many fans are getting involved. So many of you lot are getting involved with us and letting us know what you think as well. And we are going to, as I said, keep you updated, keep posting videos, keep doing lives, letting you get involved in the chat, and thanks to everyone who has got involved. The next video, as I said, will be Stephen Howson live at 4 p.m. Then you'll hear, you need a bit of light relief with all this anger and this frustrating. Him and his mate, Adam McCullough, bringing the laughter to you at 7 p.m, so make sure you check out Premier League Piss Take. That's been Joe Smith. Go and check him out at Joe Smith 93. I've been Jay Motti. You know where to find me. This has been Stretford Paddock Live. Thanks for watching.